probably take you up on that.
Yeah.
If I do, it'll probably be soon if this
Yeah.
doesn't clear. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm getting my business out there. Okay, let's see. Boom. And do we have? Are we live? Are we not? No. Huh. That's very strange. Okay. Hmm.
Okay.
That's really strange. Okay, something's off.
All right.
Uh, pretty sure something's off here. Let's see. Let me just check.
Clear it. Clear it.
Yeah, well, this is what happens. Anytime we have technical difficulties, it's always a great show. That's really strange. And then again, maybe Facebook just blocked me. Let's see here. Okay, let's try this and this. No, you're on YouTube. Well, at least we're on YouTube.
Okay.
X. Okay. Huh. All right. Facebook. Okay, they've been knocking me off, but not on videos, which is strange. For
Yeah.
some
Let
reason
me
it
see if
didn't.
it shows up on my side.
Let
Nope.
me check one other thing real quick. Let's see here. Let me check the multi-streamer. STR. Let's go here and here. Sign in. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. This isn't where I want to be. No, 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 no. Try this again. Okay, that'll do it. Let me just see what it says. Okay, an error occurred. All right, let me try this. Oh, they're probably blocking me. But at least we're on X and YouTube.
Okay.
Then I'll just put it up.
After the fact.
Yeah, that's weird. Sending data. Okay, well, we won't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we won't worry about it.
We know it's something powerful coming through if they're
Yeah.
trying to block it, right?
Yeah, so for anybody just joining us, for some reason Facebook's not letting us broadcast. Hello, Purple Barefoot. Good to see you. It's great having you on the other day. Sound is low or none here. Wow, what is happening? Okay, let's try this. Maybe that works better. Let us know if the sound's okay. My sound's low. Okay, I don't know what's going on with that.
I hear you like,
It loud?
yeah,
Yeah.
just right.
I don't know. I don't know.
While you
I don't,
figure that out, I'm gonna step upstairs and close a door with a
okay,
bark.
that
Is that
sounds good. That sounds good. Who is that? Guinevere. Thank you for letting me know. Is it still low? Is that still low? Test, test, one, two, three. Your volume is low. It's still low, huh? Don Bowers, was it low on the last one? That's weird. I don't know what's going on with that. Let me try this. Let me make sure everything's hooked up properly. Okay, let's see here. Input, output. No, everything seems to be all right. Okay, Holly is great. More needs a little bit more. Okay, okay. The dog is louder than you. Whoa, man! I guess I'm gonna have to talk louder. I don't know what else to do here. I don't know what's going on with my system, but I'll try that. Let's see how that works. It seems loud to me, but I don't know. What do I know?
Barky dogs sequestered? We're ready to go.
Okay. Okay, I'll just let us know if you can hear. I know y'all can hear her, and they said the dog was louder than me.
Yeah, the
Okay.
dog is very small and very loud.
Well, it's good to have Holly back. Looking forward to collaborating with her over the next few whatever happens, and I'm real excited about the information that she brings in and shares with us. Okay, let's see. That's it. Yes, that's it. Talk up, and it is good. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a new microphone, I think. Yeah, Holly, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming back in, and yeah, let's see what's happening.
Yeah. So, interesting that we talked about inner child last time because I told you that when I'm doing sessions like over a week or 2 weeks, I always know what's in the collective. And inner child has still been coming up a bunch, and to the point that I was planning on doing a different webinar. My intention is to do one webinar a month. And just one webinar a month where I am helping people do stuff like awaken their spiritual side or heal their inner child or, this and that. And I had another webinar planned for December, and Spirit showed me that I needed to do inner child first and reminded me how the inner child can block your healing.
Mm.
So the inner child can block your healing. For instance, my inner child, I told you before, anytime I would try to work with spiritual response therapy, my inner child would go into fight or flight because she still had all the religious programming of my upbringing, being raised by an evangelist, etc. And so I was literally physically being blocked from being able to use this system where I have to stay in a state of neutrality with my ego. And so how the inner child will block you, we talked about before how the inner child, if you look at inner archetypes as operating systems, the inner child is your first operating system for your incarnation. Right? And when the inner child is activated, it's like it reestablishes the connection with that first operating system and it shuts down the inner adult, right? So my inner child was co-opting my conscious mind. So that if you have it, you could be in a relationship with somebody you truly love, and if your inner child has been abandoned by people that she loves over and over and over again, your inner child will try to and if you could actually kind of swap inner child and ego because it's conscious mind, in this case, but your conscious mind or your inner child will try to block or sabotage that relationship because she's trying to protect the two of you, or he is trying to protect the two of you from being abandoned. So that's one way that the inner child can block your healing. And so this has been in the field, really since I talked to you last. Most everybody that I've seen has had we've done big inner child work.
Okay, yeah, because I'm with you.
Yeah.
As I review the last week, yeah, I would say yes, it's right on the money. So I'm glad to know that this is something that you're seeing in the field, and I'm not the Lone Ranger.
Right.
But what did you say at the very end? Now, you said that the inner child will block expansion, basically.
Uh-huh.
And if you're in a relationship, that inner boy, that inner girl will do what? Because it's trying to protect both. It's doing something that's actually
Sabotage the relationship.
okay.
Right? So that inner child will be, if it's activated, and it really just depends upon the energies. Like I said, it can be unworthiness, it can be abandonment, it could be
Mm.
abuse, addictions, all kinds of different
So
things.
when you say activated, you mean trigger slash activation.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you. Okay, I got you.
So, you could have a friend end a relationship with you, and it will trigger abandonment with the inner child. And so the inner child can just start trying to clean house. Like, let's just get rid of everybody. If we get rid of everybody, they can't abandon us. Alternately, the inner child can say, if we hang on, they can't leave. So you can have an inner child that'll cause you to hang on to a relationship that is really trying to complete.
Mm.
It's something that's complete, but the inner child is going, no, if I hang on, and it's not the inner adult. The inner adult is going, oh my gosh, I can see this relationship isn't good for me. But the inner child is saying, if I hang on to them, they can't leave. So
Hmm.
it's like, it's different operating systems. It's different, that that little Todd, 5-year-old Todd might pick someone different for a mate than adult Todd would, right? And so you really have these two, it almost feels like two separate egos, but it's really two separate operating systems, two separate archetypes battling it out, right? And the inner child is always going to win. And if it's coming down between inner adult and inner child, when that inner child is activated, you don't have access to the inner adult's tools.
Hmm.
So this has been really big. The inner child stuff has been really big. The other thing that's been really big is unforgiveness. And it was interesting. I went to Olympia, Washington in October for a week of training. And this has really been in my mind this last week as I've been working with people. We would go through, I went to this training. So the first part of this modality clears soul programs. The second part of this modality clears body programs. And as we were going through the body, like say that we were clearing my shoulder, we clear my shoulder, we ask for spiritual healing or do the movements to clear the shoulder. And then we would ask, is it clear? Yes. Will it hold? And if it said it wouldn't hold, there's either programs, psychic wounds, or beings attached, right? So we would go through those things. If we went through those things, if we cleared programs, we cleared psychic wounds, we cleared beings attached, and it still won't hold, it was always unforgiveness.
Wow.
Holding unforgiveness on something that happened. And so we are in a month that is completing a 9-year cycle. This December is completing a 9-year cycle that started in 2016. And so a lot of old stuff that, we have thought, oh, I've dealt with that, that's done, through that, whatever, is popping back up. And so this month in particular feels, I don't even want to say important, it feels imperative to really pay attention to what parts of me still require healing. What parts of me have I sent away that still aren't here? So, doing the work that I talked about last time, where you're going into the void and you're asking which part of me needs healing today, and really seeing which part of you needs healing. And then also looking at topics that you have worked and worked and worked on that are still hanging around, and recognizing that if it's not programs and it's not psychic wounds generally come from past life stuff. Psychic attack is in the here and now. Psychic wounds are generally past life issues. So if it's not programs and it's not past life, it's not psychic wounds, and I don't have beings attached, am I holding unforgiveness here? And then coming to that place and forgiving, whatever it is that needs to be forgiven. And it's interesting, even that term forgive, like when I looked up the etymology of it, it is, man, it was like to completely let go. And what I think hangs people up around forgiveness is that they feel like they're letting someone or something off the hook. And what they don't recognize is that someone or something is them. Because when we have an incident, if you and I have an argument, there's a capsule. It's almost like a time capsule created with that argument, right? If either you are still holding energy on it or I'm still holding energy on it, there's this capsule. And then within that capsule is every energy in the mix. It could be abandonment, it could be unworthiness, it could be selfishness, it could be whatever the energies are, they're hanging out in that capsule. And then where that capsule hangs out is in your field. It can be in your physical, it can be in any of your bodies. You know, we have, when we come in with our incarnation, the first 6 bodies for any incarnation are spirit, and the next 7 are physical. These capsules can be anywhere in the field. And so it is when we are holding those poisons in our field in these capsules, they're acting like a little transmitter in our field. And they're saying, bring me more arguments, right? Or bring me more abandonment. Bring me more frustration. You know, whatever the energy is that you're experiencing, you've got a transmitter in your field somewhere. And so it is finding, you know, you don't have to go to the exact time, the exact moment. It's finding the energy. You know, once you know that you have selfishness coming to you over and over again, you're experiencing selfishness outside of you, you know it's with you. So then it's saying, Spirit, I have selfishness somewhere in my field. I recognize that. And I love and accept myself unconditionally. And I release this to you now. So it's, I acknowledge that it's here. I love and accept myself anyway. And I release this part, I release this capsule in my field back to your care. And what happens is with that person, how this information originally came to me. My sister, when she died, was being abused by a husband she had only been married to for a couple of years. And as soon as I found out about it, I wasn't allowed to go back to be with her. And so the amount of rage that I held toward this person for what he had done to my sister, because she was so precious to me, was immense. And I wouldn't even allow myself to think about him because I'm very creative and I'm a Scorpio. And so revenge and this kind of stuff gets very creative in my mind, right? So anytime I would think about him a little, I'd be down the path and I'd go, oh, rein it back in. You know, no thanks, no thanks. I don't want to send anything out because I know eventually anything I send out, because we're all one, is going to come back. It's like a boomerang, right? So I wouldn't let myself think about him. And this one day, Spirit showed me him like in a prison cell. And when Spirit showed me him in a prison cell, my reaction was good. Let him rot there. And then I was taken back and I was shown that the cell was one of my cells. That I had this poisonous person that had harmed my sister in my being, like in my cell. And Spirit showed me that it wasn't about letting him off the hook or releasing him from the things that he's done. I think this is why the scriptures about turn the other cheek and vengeance is mine and all of this kind of stuff was because while we're holding that unforgiveness, all of that poison we're sending into wherever we have these incidents, these traumas, these beings held in our field, right? So it literally is poisoning yourself. And so inner child work, forgiveness. How many aspects of my inner child are still out there floating around? Who still needs healing? If you can think of an incident from your childhood where you're embarrassed, where you feel shame, where you still have a charge around something, if you can still think about an elementary school fight and get worked up about it, there's a piece of you there. That's how you tell, where am I?
Wow.
How much of my energy is hanging out with 6-year-old Todd and James that punched him, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. This is good. This is good. I'm glad it's in the water, and other people are because I've had a lot of memories pop in. I haven't had anything that's come in with a charge.
Yeah.
I've just had a lot of stuff. Why is this playing in my, field? And it was specific incidences in, I'd say my childhood.
Yeah.
Part of what I wrote a piece about this, poem about this, when it really came in like 3 nights ago. And the vast majority of the download was, it was information I was seeing again. I was taking it into myself and not externalizing it. And and it was about, it was in the I guess the theme was no judgment. I love you unconditionally. It was an experience. This is all an experience, whether you take one or the whole thing. And it was kind of like that. And it was kind of like they were shedding, right?
Oh,
But it drove me into this thought pattern. And I started looking at it. I didn't break it down into the three like you, but I can see exactly what you're talking about, especially after the conversation I just had with Rebecca Barron, because she talked about something very similar and she framed it up very similarly. But what I started to look at was, you know, I've seen and worked with a lot of people, like on the show, a lot of healers, and they talk about programming, locate the program, which is kind of what you're talking about in a sense. But you've got it, there's more there with what you're talking about. But you find the program and it's supposed to be neutralized now. So to me, it could only be one of two things. One is what you were talking about. Something does come in, you still have a charge, and you realize that you didn't neutralize it, or maybe you're at a higher vantage point and there's shadow that's, you can become conscious of here that you couldn't before, or something like that. But the other thing that I noticed in observing and in my own experience has been, and this just came to me through this past week, was patterns. Like
yeah.
we have programs and they create what you're talking about, the wounded child, the ego, the, whatever. And we've identified it, and we could even talk about these incidents and not be charged.
Mhm.
However, if something happens, I can go back into an old pattern because that's what I've been used to primarily. And so I have to be conscious about it and go, wait, just like you did. And you said, no, no, let me reel that back in. But I guess when it gets right down to it, if anything triggers you, it's about you. It's about me. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about me, period. Take everybody out of it. Does that mean I'm going to be clear of the program and the patterns and so on? No, but at least I brought it within myself, and that's where it's going to stay, because that's where it exists, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, and every pattern or every program has a root. So, when I am looking for programs in somebody's field, when I'm looking for energies in somebody's field, my intention is always to get the root. Like if I'm just working on present life stuff, unless the root is in present life, I'm just taking leaves off the tree. I'm taking leaves off the tree and I'm not getting to the root of the program. So you always want to go to show me the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Show me the first time I felt this.
Mm-hmm.
And spirit can take you to a little Todd, or spirit can take you to somebody you don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
We did at the end of my the webinar I just did in November, it was Awaken Your Spiritual Sight. And the night before I did it, spirit brought this visualization to mind. And I knew I was going to add it in at the end. And it was fascinating because what we did is we went to a place where we could call any of us, any part of us, across all time, all space, all dimensions, every aspect of us, that we could bring them into this void. What part of me needs forgiving, right? Or bring anybody into this void across all time, all space, all dimensions, all levels, all layers that needs forgiveness from me, right? And you
Right.
can do that the other way too. Bring anybody into, and when the place populates, because everybody's did, and some people are like, I don't even know who half of these people were that came into my void. So it's past life stuff. But once they're there, then it's, anything I have of yours, I return back to you. Anything you have of mine, I call back to me whole, washed, and purified through the heart of spirit, right? Or through the heart of source, through the heart of God. And so you can do it that way. And you can also say, just without bringing everybody in, anybody that I'm still holding negative energy on across all time, all space, all dimensions, all levels, all layers, I now intentionally release anything I have of theirs back to them. And in turn, I ask that anybody holding negative energy on me do the same, right? I'll do this with projections. I call back any projection I've made on any being or anything across all time, space, dimensions. And I ask that any being projecting upon me do the same now, right? And so it's this cleaning up my side of the street. And as I do it, asking spirit to see to it that the other side of the street's cleaned as well.
Yeah, it's like you're being proactive to the 100th percentile. Everything that you can touch, so to speak, you're putting out there and verbalizing it. Yeah,
Right.
and then as I'm listening to you as well, I'm seeing all this stuff play out and going back to the my question about the patterns.
Mm.
Well, the fact is, really, it's just the if the pattern activates you, triggers you, then it's still something's still active, within you. But it sounds to me like what you're saying, and it resonates. This has been a big 9 year for me. In fact, I'll be on the ninth. There's another nine. I'll be completing a nine cycle because I'll go from 63 to 64,
Okay.
and we're going into a 1 year.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm hearing from you, what I'm feeling from you, is that this month, kind of like we're going out the door. We're going out the door. We're closing out this 9 year cycle. And the best thing you can do, and I see it like a bathtub, when you fill up a bathtub and then you unclog the drain and it gets down to the very bottom and it starts going like
Yeah.
that. Like, so in other words, the name of the game, uh, the way to approach this month or to be this month is all about forgiveness or
Yeah.
the unforgiveness. It's all about seeking the forgiveness, feeling the forgiveness, and doing it unilaterally, like
Yeah.
you were saying. You address it within yourself, but also you project it equally out into this quantumly entangled universe.
Yeah, and it's bringing as much of our authentic selves home, right? So
Mm,
it is finding the 26-year-old that lost their job. You know, if you
mm,
can still feel a charge around being fired when you were 26, go get that 26-year-old. Go
mm,
get that 26-year-old and say, look where we are now. Man, aren't you
mhm,
glad we didn't stay at that job? You know, whatever they need to hear, you know. But it's gathering as much of our authentic selves up as we can. It's really focusing this month on what you desire to be. What do you desire to be? How do you desire to show up in life for others, for yourself? You know, what are you desiring to create more of in your life right now? What are you desiring more of? And really focusing on that, looking at your triggers, recognizing them as gifts, especially because they're going to be coming kind of hard and fast right now. I hate to tell people that, but it is. Right now, it's kind of, it's almost like, I know I've heard a lot of people, and I've described it this way myself before. It's like a hallway or a birth canal we're in, right? And things are gonna become more uncomfortable before we expand. It just is. And so we're in this time where I feel like the energy is pressuring us to really look at our shadows, really look at our shadows. And it's not all bleak because, you know, every time we've been here on Earth, we've left behind favors owed, right? We've left behind gold, we've left behind land, we've left behind resources, we've left behind influence, we've left behind a lot of interesting um, features, we'll call them. We've left some interesting things behind that I don't think most folks realize they can call back. And so I have been actively calling back, Spirit, I'm calling in my favors. I know I've left favors owed across all time space. I'm calling them in. I'm calling in my gold. I'm calling in my resources. I'm calling in my true family. I'm calling in my soul brothers, my soul sisters. I'm calling in my team that I know I'm here to do life with, right? Because right now, and I can't speak for everybody, for me, I am meeting magical people anytime I go out into the world right now. I'm meeting someone magical that feels like a long lost sister, a long lost brother, a long lost friend, right? And so I feel like it's all this culmination of, you know, the more you are working toward becoming your most authentic self, the more you are attracting what is authentically yours,
mm. Right.
right?
Yeah. I had this 2 nights ago. So I guess I never can get the chronology right, but I think this really came in about 3 days ago. So it would have been the second night, which was 2 nights ago. And I got off of the last show and I went for a walk. I thought, I'm going to go to the beach and
Yeah.
just sit at the beach. And as I was coming out of the convenience store and walking down the Avenida to the beach, it something very similar came in. And it was kind of like I didn't understand it till I was listening to you speak, but it was kind of like what you were talking about. It was like what you were talking about the inner child, right? How it can block things.
Right.
And I was just realizing that some of the stuff that was playing in my head was the inner child, but it wasn't when I was a child. It was the inner child acting out, so to speak, be it me or whoever I was you know, having an experience with. Okay. So, and then, okay. So when that came in, it was kind of a relief. I went, oh, okay. I forgot about that. And I started to think of it in this terms. I thought, well, you reawoke in May of 2011. Why don't you look at everything from there? Because we think when we wake up, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but we might overlook because now we're awake. So, we're a different person now. Well, are we really? All you have to do is go on social media and look at all the discourse there about, just say, for instance, impasse and narcissism, or my ex, or my father, or my mother, or this happened. I like the example about being fired. That was one that came up for me, by the way. I was unjustly fired, and they knew it. And I realized as I was walking down the street, I thought, well, did you forgive all those people? Did you forgive the company? But so anyway, I went through that, and then I walked uh, I got right to the beach, and there's street vendors, and I haven't been to this side of the town. And as soon as I walked up, I was thinking to myself, man, you know what I really need? I am so thirsty. I wish I could have some coconut water. And first truck I walk up to, there's a guy there with a bunch of coconuts. And for 70 pesos, I got a coconut with the meat and the juice. I ended up buying two more and bringing them home, putting in my fridge. But yeah, so it was almost like the universe said, here, okay, you got that here. But that was really something that kind of stuck with me. It was like, okay, what about the things that have gone on, in whatever 14 years of Soulogy, or whatever the number is, and just all this stuff since post awakening. What about these things? And I started to look at them. And again, there wasn't a lot of charge, but there was this recognition and acknowledgement in myself that I hadn't looked at everything.
Yeah.
Okay. There were things that I just went right past, and maybe now was the time to look at them. So I really feel like that this explanation you gave is very accurate as far as what's being presented to us. And then also what you said about the gold that we've left behind. A
Right.
lot of the work that I did early on, which was more of a facilitator type or a practitioner type stuff, energy work. And
Yeah.
I would be guided to work with certain people. Every time I would do that, and it was probably like 35, 40 times this happened over a few months, it was a part of my evolution. I would always say, now, there's going to be a time come when I'm going to be doing this good work, and I'm going to ask that you come and support that situation. So I would call in, and when I would do this work, I would call in all the souls that I've connected to, and et cetera. So I really like the way that you explained that we've left like seeds, our treasures all around, in our field, and they're there to be rekindled and,
They
re-emphasized.
exist.
Yeah.
They exist in the reality right now. Like time, everything is happening at once, right? And so, how many people do you know or have you talked to? Like, you've talked to a lot of people, like I have. And how many people I sit with that have this knowledge that they've come here to do something great
Yes.
and feel like they do not have the materials or the ability to do it. It's like they're being blocked from this greatness they know they're here to access. And we're creator beings, right? And so everything I am saying right now is creating. So
Yeah.
I am creating my reality with the vibrational frequency of my voice. I'm putting the vibrational frequency of my voice behind what I desire to create. And so, as creator beings, what if it is as simple as coming here and recognizing, oh, I've been here so many times. Bring me my bag of tricks,
Mm.
bring me, bring me resources. And you're talking about like that instant manifestation. And this is, I was thinking about, man, I don't even know, like, what do we talk about? And I know I should never ask that with you because I know Spirit's going to bring us good stuff to talk about. But it is, I was thinking about forgiveness. I was thinking about the inner child. I was thinking about how, how fast things are manifesting. If I have a spot in my calendar that I need to fill,
Hmm.
I will say, Spirit, I've got a spot on, the fifth that I need to fill or whatever. And when I go check my phone, it's already filled.
Hmm.
Or I will think of something I desire. And Travis is in Eugene today, so he's in town again. And this happened last time when we were on our last podcast, where I had this thought and I was like, man, I wish I would have asked him to get that for me. Oh, because we do our big grocery shopping there because we're in the sticks. And I had the thought and immediately receive a text with a picture of the thing that I just thought I wished I had. And Travis saying, do you want this? Yes, please. Or I'll think of an animal because I told you I'm a super nature nerd. I'll think of an animal I desire to see, someone I haven't seen in a little bit. I'll have the thought they'll show up that day. And it'll be something like, the deer this time of year, we have a herd of deer that have been hand fed since the 60s because this property was, developed by a veterinarian. But this time of year, the deer are farther in the forest. And I literally just had a thought about them the other day. And three of them came out of the forest, stood just so that I could see them. And I talked to them a little bit from the deck, hi, mama, I love you. Good to see you. Hi, baby, you're getting so big, this kind of stuff. And then they just turned around and walked back into the forest. And so, what if it is genuinely as easy as recognizing that we've left behind connections, we've left behind favors, we've left behind gold, we've left behind resources. And when I say left behind favors, man, I know this man that owns the most amazing rock shop I've ever been in. And the last time Travis and I were with him, he told us this great story. And he said that as a kid, he grew up snaking through this particular property to go fishing. It was like the best fishing hole on this particular river. And so he would sneak through the property and go. Well, about a year ago or so, this woman approached him. She had bought that property. And because of what he does, she ordered tourmaline and rose quartz and all of these things by the ton.
Hmm.
Like she put rose quartz because they were building a sanctuary. So she put rose quartz, like all of the cement in the master room has rose quartz in it. The rest of the house has tourmaline in it.
Hmm.
They've got special things around all the electrical stuff. So she was ordering all these crystals to have them built into the house, right? Well, then they get everything built and they start working with the system, trying to get permits to build the rest of their facility, and they're unable. They keep just hitting a wall. So she got frustrated and bought a place in Panama instead, and then sold the place to this guy. Sold it to him for a price he couldn't believe that she sold it to him for. And she's carrying the loan at 5% fixed, right?
Wow.
And so as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I could see, I see past lives, around people, and I could see that the last life they were in, like he made her so much money, he blessed her so much in that lifetime that this was that favor.
Wow.
And when he told me this, because I know this, I know it, and I had all of this energy through me. And this is part of what I think with this house, with this land and everything. When I tell you, I feel like Richard bought this property, built this place, knowing that we were going to be here. This is part of that. Uh, I know that, right? And so it was such a great example to me. So he ends up with the property that he snuck through as a kid. You know, he's got his own fishing hole now. That
That's
fishing
wild.
hole he grew up with. Yeah. And this is what's available. And I don't know that folks really know this.
Well, I think, I mean, it makes sense because we spent all of our time working on the shadow, right?
Hmm.
So anything we would look for in our past, even in just this incarnation, what's our focus? Our focus is going to be on the failures, on
Yeah,
the
where'd I
shadow.
mess up?
Huh? What's
Where'd I
that?
mess up? Where'd I mess up? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And very little given to the successes. I remember when I first went on the street right after after I reawoke, and I found myself after I don't know how long it took, a year and a half maybe. Obviously, I'm on the street. I'm meeting all kinds of people. I went into rehab for 90 days, met a bunch of people there. I mean, it was all kinds of stuff. And like the first thing that would come out of my mouth very quickly would be, I'm Todd Medina. Nice to meet you. I used to be a national director for such and such company, and da 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 da. And then one day I caught myself that why am I always saying that? So any reference that I had, and I can't speak for everybody else, like you said, where did I mess up? But you look back and have that spiritual ego or that pride, right? So it's still not a win-win, right? So I kind of see it like that. I can see that. But also what I really like about what you're saying is over the past 10 days, these shows are incredible because they're, like I said before, it's like just somebody shapeshifts and it's the same conversation continuing and there's a collective thread and connection. Well, over the period of like 3 or 4 shows, part of the dialogue that came out were people talking about those people that have reappeared in this lifetime. Some souls even had been in this lifetime, they transitioned, they came back as someone else.
Right.
Okay. And I thought, okay, what is this? Right. And I started to see how this is what we've been doing, that it's actually been there, that we're playing with the same people in our core incarnations. Right. And, uh, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this, which tells me that obviously that my family, and those closest to me, we've been playing for a long time in the earth plane, not even mentioning what came before. So to be able to go back and to recognize, like I went through this initiation 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, with a beautiful sister. Shout out to MB, okay, who wants always to be anonymous, but really had been kind of a silent benefactor for Soulogy, and then it just kind of crescendoed, and we met personally on 2 or 3 occasions, and I really learned how to receive, and it was an amazing experience that continued, right? And now I can kind of see through this story that that's probably what predicated this. It was probably it's a give and take. It's a giving and receiving. It's a sharing. So maybe in the previous encounter, I did something very similar, or was involved in a very similar pattern. So the last thing I want to say is, yeah, if we're going to go back and search through our shadows and the original traumas and the first time this happened to you or that happened to you, and have the ability through our soul, to our higher self soul, to be able to do that, then we certainly would have the same ability to go back and find out what our attributes, our greatest attributes are, and strengths. Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking about something right now that's been with me ever since I reawoke, and it's really come to the surface. And this would be in the form of service or expression or creativity type of thing. And it's really come to the forefront in the last few weeks. Like it's not going away.
Yeah.
So I'm privately in solitude practicing it, involves singing. So you know how that goes, right? But
That's
my
so interesting. The reason that's very interesting to me is because this is where I've been.
really,
I have had songs coming through me. I've been writing songs like it's my job.
oh my God.
And Spirit has been showing me because singing is alchemy.
Mm,
Singing is alchemy, right? And so Spirit has been really teaching me about the power
Mm.
of my voice. Like when I was talking about the creational power, right? Spirit's really been teaching me about this. And I feel like the reason so many people hate their voice is because our voices, right? If you think microcosm, macrocosm, all of these beautiful churches that were not built by any of the people they tell us they were, right? The Catholic Church didn't build the Vatican. Notre Dame was not built by who they say it was, right? These were originally temples that were created acoustically to heal anybody that came into them, right? So it's like the vibration of the bells, the shapes of the walls, everything is built to heal whoever enters the temple. What is your body? Your body is your temple, right? And so our voice is designed to heal anything in our being,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. And
Yeah.
it's funny that you're bringing that up too, because my sister Alicia Brachet in Australia, we've collaborated quite a bit over the years, and we've been doing a show every couple of weeks, and for a couple of months, and we had a private conversation because in the process of doing the shows, she started talking about something on the surface that was very similar, and there were some key elements to it, like a city, the theme of it being music, and her being called, and this and that. And so we talked about it privately, and I won't go too in depth because it was a private conversation, but this is what it revolved around. Like we were just putting our notes on the table saying, okay, what does this actually mean? But at the core of it was exactly what you're saying, which is exactly what I've been receiving. So I spent like I think 3 of the last 4 nights I've spent probably an hour just in here by myself, a cappella, or sometimes with an instrumental behind me. And I started out reading my words, and then the next thing you know, I just threw them away, and I just started improvising. And then I started doing. I mean, I've done sacred song and maybe a little bit light language over the years, but this was something totally different.
Yeah.
This was, and I have it recorded. I haven't listened to it but one time. So there is something to be said for that. It's a tech, and I've always felt that the voice was very important. I understand the heart is where everything meets, from the upper chakras and the lower chakras, so to speak. But there's something about the voice because it has these qualities that are both physical and non-physical. They have these qualities that are in the five sensory range, and then there's something way beyond it. So I
Right.
really feel like that this is maybe something that we'll see more and more of. But ultimately, now that I've had this conversation with you, I'm going to go search my personal Akashic and find out where this has happened before. And I already have many clues because of certain memories I've been given, which had to do primarily with being in monasteries, being in a priesthood, being what do you call it? One of those Japanese warrior monks, another life in Brazil. And a lot of it was most of it was revolving around I guess like a holy men or priest, or and so there was a lot of chanting and
Chanting, yeah,
toning, right? So I already know where to go look.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting. So one of the magical people that I've met most recently, she's an animal communicator, and she's from the Huron-Wendat tribe in Canada. Her husband's Chippewa, and so she plays flute. And I mean, when I say she plays flute, she's played flute for King Charles, like back when he wasn't, he came to Canada. I mean, she's like very elite musician. And it was so interesting because she sent me this chant that she did that she had recorded, and I couldn't stop listening to it. Like it's just like a 3-minute chant, And it felt like home to me because she's someone that I've been in a lot of lifetimes with. She's one of the long lost sisters that I've called back to me. And something that Spirit just reminded me of, but this chanting, what I recognized when you were talking about sitting and singing a cappella, I have that song. I told you if I want a rainbow, I can sing this song and rainbows will come. And this one day, my rainbow song wasn't working. And so I just started chanting and chanting, I don't even know what, Todd. And as soon as I did, the rainbow showed up. And around that same time, so the elements the elements are not like people think of air, fire, water, earth, ether. Most people don't even mention ether actually, and they think of them as this um, as a power, but I don't know that they necessarily think of it as a consciousness. And wood, wood is a container. Wood holds memories. That's why it's imperative, like when you buy old furniture or stuff like that, to clear it. All the wood in this house has been cleared multiple times because it's a container, so it'll hold the energies of the environment, right? And that made me start thinking about just going back to our body and our temple. Our bones are wood. Our bones are like the wood in our body, right? What happens when you break a bone? They'll say, oh, it's splintered, right? So our bones are like wood. So our bones are containers. So if we know that our bones are containers, we can intentionally fill our bones with music or with the highest, holiest love or with forgiveness or with joy or with whatever it is that we desire to radiate through our being, right?
That
Because
makes sense. Like you can feel it in your bones, kind of
yeah,
thing. I
right?
mean, music does that to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, fill in your bones with what you desire more of in your frequency. But, just going back to this month and this completion month, it really is, it's what Spirit has shown me, because when I say like magical people coming left and right, I mean like people that I meet that are like, I've been waiting for you. Like, if I could create a friend, I actually had somebody say to me, that she told her husband the night before, if I could create a friend for myself, it would be you, right? And how often are people vulnerable like that with someone that they haven't known very long? But it's because we are coming into these deep soul connections with beings that we feel safe being vulnerable with, right?
Yeah.
You're you're meeting people that you can trust with your deep downs, right?
Well, yes. And I think we've all, being the sensitives that we've been, we've we've opened ourselves up through our lives and it didn't get reciprocated properly. So there was some pain involved. But I agree with what you're saying, and that's something that I think is really important. I have come across a lot of people in my work and a lot of different types of energies. Things have been deconstructed and are now reconstructing now. That's paralleling the collective change and expansion. But yeah, it's something that this is another thing that came to me in the last few days, which was I don't care what's out there. Wherever I go, this is what I'm going to offer. And what
Yeah.
I'm going to offer is what we, in other words, open my heart all the way because ultimately that's what it is. You're closing a little part down because you want to keep it safe and you don't want to get hurt. No, bullshit. And to be transparent, to be transparent in care of my well-being, not to just pull the trigger and shotgun blast it all out there, but to do that. And one of the ways that I do that is with my brother Ty Hudnall out of Sedona. He's a master musician, and we've been doing a weekly show with a young guy that's a conscious rapper, Robert Evans. And so I think it was last time we did it or the time before, and he said that it was what we do. We don't stage anything. So he just starts playing based on what he's feeling, and we start talking. He gets the music behind it, and in this particular day, all three of us were in a very vulnerable state. We didn't talk about it, but it just came out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that he said. He said, this is what I liked about you. When you show up to these gigs and you just lay it on the line, you just put it in, and I can do it in that environment because there's some uniformity to the field. You can feel it, you can sense it. But it made me think anyway, these last 2 or 3 days, I thought, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be open. I'm not going to be afraid to be hurt, uh, in any regard. And that can also mean being direct in a business scenario and saying, yes, I will do this. No, I won't do this. And not having any disregard for myself. And
Right.
you know what I mean? In other words, putting myself first is really this energy that we're talking about. We can call it the Trinity energy because I'm giving you the same degree that I'm giving myself. It's just a natural thing, and also it serves the collective in the same regard. Yeah, this is fascinating conversation. We can go gold digging now. We don't have to go shadow digging.
Yeah. And then if you think about what part of you would try to protect you, what part of you would try to keep you small, it's going to be ego, right? It's going to be ego. It's going to be inner child. Oh, we did that before. Hide. It's funny. My girlfriend was here from California for 3 days last week, and we were doing some dumb online thing where, I was asking questions, and it was like, would your friends say you were more this or that? And I asked this particular question, and I thought it was a completely different answer. And she said, well, you are really private. And I said, I'm private? And she said, Holly, you live in a house with a moat and a drawbridge, which I don't quite have a moat or a drawbridge, but I got what she was saying. I don't get drop-bys here. You can't just drop by my house. And I thought about that, and I thought about how we talked about this in our very first conversation, kind of before we were on air, but just how I don't have any what's left to give about what folks think about me. I get rid of the word want. I don't desire to have people in my life that I can't be myself with anymore, right?
Yeah, that's it right there. I mean, my good friend, she calls me the king of no fucks.
Right.
But I think that, yeah, and for me, again, this is weird, but it's not because this is what's happening, these physical synchronicities. In the past few days, the other thing I got was that I'm not going to give a fuck about that. And I get how this is meant. This isn't meant in arrogance or belligerence. This is just like being yourself. But more importantly, I'm going to prioritize myself, and I'm not going to not give a fuck about myself.
Right.
Okay. So that's kind of flipped on me. And again, this all came in the same period of time. Thanks.
Yeah. It's interesting too, when you were talking about patterns earlier, I always think of Spirit showed me patterns in people's souls like cart ruts. And you know how there's all these ancient cart ruts geologically, right? Where there'll be ruts through stone. And Spirit likened the patterns in our soul, or it's like all your incarnations, have, there are just certain commonalities, right? There's certain things that we've repeated more than others. And I thought about it because one of the things that happened when I was in class, I was talking to my teacher. So when my 22-year-old was born, I died. Like literally, it's in the medical records. I died. I had to be intubated, and I didn't even wake up after I had him for 3 hours. And I was telling her about this. And so she just asked a really simple question. How many unresolved past lifetimes has Holly died during childbirth? And it was like, I don't know, I feel like it was a triple digit number. And she cleared it. This is a cart rut. This is a pattern, right? So that I have had this issue of dying, bringing a child through. And many times, this isn't something we're victims of. Many times we are, I'm a walk-in soul. So that might be like on the regular mix of things that I do in order to facilitate one soul leaving and another one coming in. I don't know. I don't know why I would have so many lifetimes like that. But it's not something we are like when we're here, we're like, oh, why won't this thing go away? Or why am I have, why do I have these issues? Not recognizing that it's a cart rut. But we're not victims. We choose things, I'm sure I said, give me I want an alcoholic dad, I want a narcissist mom, I want to be churched up so hard that way I know about what scripture is, but I want my sister to die when I'm this age and prove to me that all of it's BS. So, you know what I mean? So we've picked, it's like we're stacking the deck before we get here with experiences that we know based upon prior lives are going to facilitate a particular reaction in our being.
Yeah. Yes. Here we go again.
Yeah,
No, here
right.
we go again because this, okay. So this happened to me during this time. It's been a lot of retro self introspection. So my first marriage, okay, I went back to this memory, the separation, okay, after 11, 10, 11 years, three kids, and everything went off the rails. That's the story because what we're talking about here is forgiveness and the or lack thereof, the unforgiveness, right? And so I must have been tapping into this. And I'd revisited it before, but this never came in. Well, around the time that this started to happen, I had an out of body experience on a plane. I might have told you about it, and it was life changing. Uh, so what happened in this communion 2 3 days ago was I went back to that time, and it's just speaking to exactly what you're talking about. The only difference is you're going from in one case you're transitioning to the next body, in the other you're not. But it was the same thing as you're talking about. I had a walk in. I had a bigger part of bigger aspect of me come in during that out of body. And it was because I was moving into another phase.
Right.
And 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 they also told me during that out of body that this was originally an exit point. So
Mm-hmm.
in essence, if you really look at it and you don't get too literal, it's an exit point.
Right.
You're going from one to another, and you go and you really go with everybody that you're with already. It just the story looks a little bit different on the surface. So I think that's a really good example of what you're talking about. Um, that's a rut.
Yeah.
Also, it can also be a rut. So you planned it within the lifetime to have. I feel like in my life I've had many more than one life that show up. In this lifetime. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is good stuff. Thanks.
Yeah. It is. It's interesting. It's interesting with where we are because, man, there's so many. I get that there's so many dark things, and this is what most of humanity is focusing on right now, is all of the dark things that are happening in the world, right? Because they are glued to their TV, they're glued to the Mockingbird, media. And so it can feel like sometimes, I recognize, I guess, just seeing people's reactions, seeing how people are spinning out, that things are getting worse, right? That the darkness is winning, that things are getting darker, that things are getting heavier. What I'm experiencing is that it's super easy to manifest now. Telepathy is coming in so strong. I have to physically make myself pause so many times when Travis is telling me something, because I can, like jump right in, because he'll send me the picture first. And yesterday he was trying to talk about this podcast, and he's like, there's this podcast Alex Zek just did, and I said, with the three guys, and he's like, well, these are different guys than blah blah blah. But there, and I said, the one is this and that, and it's IRS and this and that, and he's like, yeah. And he said, did you see it on Instagram? And I said, no, you just showed me in your head. It's like he's just sending me information. And people are doing this all around me. The gal that I talked about with the flute that sent me the chant, she kept saying, you're so telepathic, you're so telepathic. But she's telepathic too, right? She's sending me the information. And and so it feels like, so I mean, I know I talked about going out and finding all your aspects, and then finding, what do I need to forgive, or who do I need forgiveness from? Who do I need to forgive? And realizing that this forgiving is a complete letting go of their energy, right? That's it. So forgive, completely let go. So it's not about excusing what they've done. It's about releasing their energy from your field. And if you can keep a focus on that, of anything that is not me in any of my bodies, any of my minds, return it, return to sender, you know. And now I got Elvis in my head. But but so it's those things, and then it's also doing everything you can to find joy, to find joy, to find delight, right? To
Yeah.
find things that excite you, things that will bring a feeling of wonder,
Mm,
right? This
mm,
is always nature for me. Like when I go out into nature, I'm in that childlike state of wonder. And I'm in that state frequently enough to where I'm bringing that in, because that's where I think it's at. That's where I
yeah.
think you have to vibe at. You have to vibe at that childlike state of wonder. You have to be okay with not knowing everything,
Right.
right? Because that's our ego is saying, but what comes next? But what if I get hurt? What are they going to do to the money? What are they going to do to our food? Um, you know, the digital IDs, all this kind of stuff that everybody's all caught up in, not recognizing that they're manifesting more of the same.
Right. That's the game.
Yeah,
Presentate and present and perpetuate.
yeah,
Rebecca Barron on the previous show, we were talking about the same thing that you're talking about, and she's a practitioner like you, and I was asking her. I think I'd asked you before, but I asked her, are you seeing anything different with your clientele this year? And she said yes. That they're coming in responsible, creative, the same things that you're talking about, that you're coming into, and also speaking to the field, how the field is, more than telepathic now. You can see it happening. And
Yeah.
really coming back to what you're getting at and what you exemplify, you and your husband, is the experience is becoming very localized. Okay. It's not that you're not connected to anyone and everyone, but your whole experience is becoming very localized, and which is strengthening these lines of connectivity. And I've experienced this with quite a few people, and also with just the third energy. Basically, things will happen, like you said about the calendar filling up,
Yeah.
or I'll have 2 days where I'm like, I don't have anything on the calendar, and then I realize as I'm laying on my back for 14 hours a day that I'm supposed to be staying still and going in within myself. But yeah, so it's and the other thing that she brought up, and I've always felt very strongly about because I've experienced it. It's very contagious. It's
Yeah.
extremely contagious,
Yeah.
uh, and we're lighting each other up, but you're not going to see it. And I think this is going to be an interesting a part of our evolution in regard to social media. The traditional platforms, the general topics of disclosure and conspiracy. I remember when David Icke came on. He came on twice. The first time he came on, and here's a guy who does 250. I think he told me 250 podcasts a year. Right?
Yeah.
And he'll do them with big people, little people. Doesn't matter. He just wants to get the word out. And so I would imagine that 99% of the people that he talks to, they talk about certain things, right? The things that he's brought to light. So I explained to him in the very beginning, I said, this is a community of people that have had an experience like you. They had a wake up experience like you did in Machu Picchu, and et cetera, et cetera. And my first question is, given all that stuff that's out there that you were just speaking of, what can we do? What's the best thing we can do? And I'll never forget what he said. He said, you know what? I didn't know we were going to talk about this. This is my favorite subject. So, you know, to come from a guy like that who's done all that research and he still understands what you're bringing up now and what's occurring now.
Yeah.
This is actually occurring now. People are actually getting traction, living off grid, uh, going through these wild energies. And I got to believe everybody's got to be being affected. I see it in my life. I see it in the threads of my life. Even if they're not open to the conversation that we're having, I can see the pressures. I can see the rinse and wash of it. People are going through like a life review. They're having a come to Jesus meeting often with the universe, and things are being presented to them. Memories are popping back. But ultimately, we're learning how to drive this vehicle now, and that's the exciting part. Like that's the part that hey, we're gonna do a show, and I all of a sudden I'm showing the both of us, and all these beings are around us, and that's a real deal. And that this stuff is coming online, and it's no longer, we're like the little kids in the backyard playing with our imaginary friends, and society's been telling us that we're crazy and they're not real,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
and
all of yeah.
that's the thing is as long as you are plugged in to the machine, I had a physical unplugging. So my walk-ins have not just been higher aspects coming in. I've had full soul exchanges. My last full soul exchange was on July 1st of 2024, and I was awake and aware while it was happening. My husband was with me. And I don't remember if I talked about it, so I'm not going to talk about it again. I talked about it in another podcast I did, but I was awake and aware, and the way that my life has transformed since then. I mean, I can see in the videos I made before July 1st, I can see a different energy signature even. So, so I think the unplugging. So I had an event where I walked into I walked into the bathroom. It was when we were still in Eugene. That house was something else. That's the house that had the big portal underneath it. So I had nonstop wild experiences there. But I walked into the bathroom and I wasn't feeling well. And I walked into the bathroom and went to go to the bathroom and then just woke up. I woke up and my back was arched and my head was on the counter next to me. So my back's arched, my head's on the counter. I have a goose egg here, I have a goose egg here. And I realized I'd had a seizure or something like it because of my back being arched and my head, my head. And so I asked Spirit what happened. I actually went in and journeyed and I saw that I was physically unplugged from something. And so that event, whatever it was that happened in my body, happened while I was being unplugged. And I guess what brought that up is I was talking about being plugged into the system and people that are participating, man, it feels like the rinse and repeat. It doesn't feel like even a choice for a lot of people. They're just caught up in the, mundane tasks of life. Those people don't pull their attention away from the programs and the programmers long enough to experience how fast things are manifesting, to experience the telepathy. It is literally where we are putting our focus right now, is telling the universe, like in this time of us closing out this 9-year cycle, is there anything else you want to sweep out the door before we close it? Is there anything else you want to go, okay, you can go too. But it is, what am I wanting to bring in? And I don't think that people who are focusing on what the controllers desire us to focus on are receiving that. Like, I really don't. I interact with people, and I know that we're like a tuning fork, right? We're like a tuning fork bringing folks around us into coherence, but only to the point that they're willing to receive that.
Yeah, I've yeah, I've experienced that, particularly with family, some of my family. I don't know. I guess a lot. I guess like what we were talking about earlier, like the conscious pattern recognition.
Right.
Pattern recognition. We see it in others. We can see it in ourselves. We have to be conscious now. We may have found the program, found the original trauma, the things that you talked about, but there's still a second part there, and that second part is to consciously apply this data code experience into our present spontaneous existence with childlike wonder and all the things that we were talking about. This is a real deal. It doesn't make sense in this world. It doesn't make sense at all. One of the really cool things about the previous show with Rebecca, and her story is incredible. MK Ultra, the sex thing I told you about, with the royal family, the whole 9 yards, the stuff that you. But I said to her, because as she was telling her story, taking us through the years real quickly, and I said to her, I would imagine that the vast majority or a lot of this information that you have received that she was explaining to us about the structure of the realm and just the way things work, was self-sourced. And I'm sure you did a lot of research. And she said, and actually, I have not done any research. It's all coming from my heart, is the way she explains it.
Yeah.
My soul, my heart, which I thought was really cool. One of the things that she said that kind of touches on what you were talking about too was, because you go back to this narrative or theory of two earths, they're going to split. you know Another part of the piece that I wrote the other night was like, every time I have to split to expand. There's a part of me that has to split each time I come to terms with one of these things. But what she was talking about was how these beings that we think are out there are actually standing right next to us, right?
Yeah.
So if what you're saying, it looks like it is, because you do see hardcore evidence, like you said, rinse and repeat, which we can only recognize because we've been there. but
Right.
but my point is maybe that's what happens, because there's definitely a transformation occurring within the body itself. And is that happening for everyone? I don't know. I don't know how this works. And maybe we're gonna, if we're not, if we're living an experience like in your case, okay, or even in my case, and it's very localized, and we're in joy and service, and we're in nature, and we're exploring our childlike wonder, exploring our voice, whatever these things are, and we're aligned, and none of that stuff matters to us. It's not going to touch us. And
Right.
so eventually, is it going to go away? I was thinking about this last night when I was walking through the town. I thought, man, this place is just, it's just like impeccable. I walk through the streets barefoot, through these cobblestone streets, and there's no glass. I see
Yeah.
these kids doing it, and all the just the different, the different things, meeting the coconut guy, having a conversation. I'm having a conversation with this coconut guy 2 nights ago. His name's David. And he speaks broken English, and I speak broken Spanish.
Yeah.
And he starts talking to me about and starts talking to me about 6 visits that he had with it sounded like one of those pranic healers, with the breath exercises. And he starts telling me about these breath exercises and how this light came out of his head, and these different things are happening, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
and it was just so cool. But what I was thinking, and actually when I saw him last night, we went even further, and he asked me what I was doing. He couldn't understand what podcast was or talk show, so I ended up taking my phone out and showing him the last show, and then we went even deeper. It was amazing to have two people that don't speak the perfect verbal language together, and yet we were talking about spirituality to the nth
Yeah.
degree. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when I was looking at everything, I was like, well, my soul had told me earlier in the week, this is all you. You created all this. You have this. Look at this. I mean, don't worry. Yeah, I know you've been thinking of some things and this and that are coming up or whatever, but this is you. I mean, where would you rather be, kind of thing. And I'm like,
Right.
I don't know. But and so when I was walking through last night, I was thinking, about we're out there on the global stage, the things that are being presented. I thought, well, I'm looking at all these people and they're all happy, and these families, and they're eating, street vendors, and I'm going, that these people wouldn't miss a beat. They just keep right on going.
Yeah.
You don't see cops out here. You don't see this. You don't see that. I mean, yeah. So I don't know how this is going to go, but I feel like what you're talking about, what Rebecca talked about, how I feel, what others are talking about, which is really coming down to one thing. It doesn't matter anything external that impedes you is not because something has power over you. It's because we've still got something we've got to find or whatever. And ultimately,
Yeah.
what's the name of the game is to be yourself,
Yeah.
and to me, that's one of the great strengths of we've talked about the inner child, and going back to earlier, what you're talking about in terms of the process that you were introducing us to at the beginning of the show. We go back into the past, and we find the shadow, and we find the traumas, and we find this and we find that, and it's all on that side of the equation. But what's the other side of it? All my life, people have told me you're like a big kid. You know,
Mhm.
you're like, and like sometimes they would say to me like, you need to grow up, and I'm like, fuck that. I mean, so this is a part of this process that is the process that I've kind of experienced over the last 2 or 3, 4 months has been, bringing that inner child back in, and
Yeah.
going out and taking my shoes off and walking on the beach, or, going to get, they have these beautiful dishes over there, like these platanos, those big bananas with a
Yeah.
bunch of seasoning on it. And or, I don't know, just enjoying something like a child would enjoy something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So
would a squared away adult go stand on a bridge and chant for a rainbow? Maybe not. right? But they're not going to get a rainbow. And
Yeah.
and I've had so many cool visual things, and that's another thing that's kind of been a thread is that, and these are with, clients that I've not sat with before because I've been getting a lot of new folks come through
Mm.
because of this shift. It really feels like um, something has opened. I don't want to say for everyone. I feel like it is for everyone, but I don't want to tell somebody that's having a hard time that they've got everything open to them. They just can't see it.
Mm.
But I've had all of this cool stuff, but I've had a lot of people with visual stuff. Like a woman came to me, and I have a really good BS detector. I mean, I get a yes or no in my body right away on folks. And she's telling me about how she's watching portals, like she didn't call it a portal, but she says, I watch these doors open up. I can be out in a store even, and I'll watch a door open up, and this huge being will walk through it and then disappear through another door, like right in front of me, right? And I was telling her, I was in Eugene and I was sitting on Coburg Road, which means nothing to you, but I'd left Costco and I'm going to Natural Grocer because that's what we do when we go to town. It's like we get all the things that we can't get over here. And I'm sitting at a stoplight and I see these two massive pigs. I mean, the biggest pigs I've seen, and they're black, and they're walking like in, I'm seeing them. I don't mean I'm seeing them spiritually. I'm seeing manifest these two pigs, and they're walking across the crosswalk, and I watch them walk across the crosswalk, and then they get to where there's cars sitting waiting for the light, and they walk over the tops of the cars. I'm like, "Oh," and they just disappeared off the
Are
other
you
side.
serious? Whoa.
Because I was sitting there going, well,
Yeah.
what in the actual, watching these, right? And then I told Travis, I said, I had a really weird thing happen with pigs today that I need to tell you later. But I hadn't told him yet. And we were walking up the driveway and he saw this animal run up like around the corner. He's like, that was a bigger animal. He goes, I don't know if that was a deer. Was it a baby deer? Like, what was that that just ran up the curb? And I said, I didn't even see it. And where we live, so we have a river, that we're on the curve of the river, national forest, national forest, national forest. So no neighbors on our side of the river. Difficult to get over here, even like from now until summer because of the way the water runs, right? So it's not like you can just get to this side easily. It was a German Shepherd, and it was like this young German Shepherd. And so Travis got the dogs in the house because, it's a strange dog. We don't know. And I went out to it and or I went around to try to find it because it came running this way behind our house. So I walked out that way to try to find it. And, because strange dog on our side of the river, I don't want to get in my baby deer. I don't, it's like whatever it is, let's handle it. So I get over there and it's not there. And then I feel something, and this dog comes running like kind of out of nowhere straight toward me. And he sees me, and as soon as we make eye contact, he turns around and he skedaddles. I scoured the forest for this dog. Like I walked anywhere that dog could be, and I've gone to tracking school before, I know how to be quiet. I know how to find something I'm looking for. That dog was nowhere. And so then I'd had to tell Travis about the pigs. And around that same time, I had this really interesting thing happen where I was looking at something. And so, like, so I'm sitting across from the window that's normally behind me. And, I've got all these big trees out, right? So it'd be like I'm looking at those trees, but right about here in my field. So maybe about 2 feet out from me. I see a smaller version of what I'm looking at sitting about 2.5 feet in front of me. And I recognize that the outer portion of my field is collecting the data of what I'm looking at and projecting it back to this point. So it's like I'm starting to see things in the field that have been hidden, or that have been hiding in plain sight. And we have to get to that frequency to experience it.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, and obviously, the more we neutralize or clear, there's a relationship. But also, I think now there's a relationship uh, that is connected to expression, co-creation, that spontaneity. The improv music, the toning, things like that. I've experienced it here since the summer, from time to time, and I've had it pretty thick the last 3 or 4 nights at the beach. It's been They had the cool thing with the coconut guy, who, by the way, his buddy had a little hibachi, and they were cooking freshly caught fish. So, so they offered me some. That was great. But also out okay, so there's a point on the beach where there's a little inlet that's basically the river from the mountains, okay, that come down, and it's fresh water flowing into the ocean. And so 2 nights ago, the first thing I did was I walked to that point. And as I'm walking to that point, and I was dealing with what was being presented to me. It was very deep, and I was looking for relief, basically.
Yeah.
I was seeking understanding. I was seeking, So I'm looking at the river as it's going into the ocean. I step right up to the edge of it, and I'm saying, I'm being told, well, this is what you're doing. You're integrating two different, the salt on one side, the fresh water on the other, blah, blah, blah. And then I went from there for 2, 3 more minutes, and it's just, my soul speaking to me, my heart, my soul speaking to me. And then all of a sudden, the waves just started getting bigger. Like, normally when the tide comes in, it's a kind of a gradual thing. This just went boom. And I mean, where the water from the ocean was just coming in about 5 or 10 feet, while I'm having this meditation, this communion, all of a sudden it just, like a little tsunami, and just shoots up the inlet. And I was seeing the connection. I was being shown the connection, and I was being shown, hey, this is you. You know how some people will bring a rainbow forward, or bring wind in through the trees. That's what was happening too the last couple of nights. Was I would look at the tree, the palm tree, or a cluster of trees, and I would say, I see you, and I talk to him, and I do that with trees. And for some reason, I don't normally do this. I said, can you move like your arm or something? And boom. And then I go, let me try this again, But and then when I left, every night when I left, I was like, thank you so much. Like I was almost overwhelmed
Yeah.
by what I had come to, and just, deep gratitude with it all, because I left with a greater humility, and it was like a grace and a humility. But yeah, this connectivity that's occurring is not going to be on the radar screen based on the traditional fields of measurement that this realm has given us, right?
Yeah.
This is all self-produced, and at the same time as we do it, it seems to be mirroring back to us, in all the external, and the cool part is other people.
Yeah. I love that you did that with the trees when you started talking. So I'll wave at trees. Like I'll walk through the forest and I'll wave just to get the waves back. Like I can wave at a fern and a fern will wave back at me.
Mm,
I can wave at a maple tree and a maple tree will wave back at me. And I'm talking like when there's no wind or anything,
mm,
just walking through the forest and I'll choose a tree and I'll wave to it and it'll wave back. And these are the kind of things that if you say to folks, they think you're a nut job. But again, I don't really care anymore. Like my
Yeah.
life is so magical. I experienced so many amazing things. These people that I've been meeting lately are so just next level magical.
Mm.
Like you can feel it. And I know these are like deep heart and soul connections that
Mm.
we're calling in. And and I don't think anything is happenstance, right? It's like
No.
we've got however many awakened individuals on the planet that are holding particular frequencies really to be the tuning fork, not even for Earth. Like, I know people think that Earth is in such a bad situation. Earth is so powerful that if Earth wanted to wipe us off the face of her, she would. She
She
could.
has. She has before.
Yeah. So, so it's humanity,
Yeah.
and it really feels like we've agreed to come and be that unified field of love,
Yeah. And
right?
yeah. And the and here's another thing with like that shift that you were talking about for an individual, where we can now go back and look for the gold that we left behind in previous lives. We can tap into, instead of just seeking those shadows, even though they bring us gold eventually, but using some of these positive attributes that we left behind. Everything in the external has been speaking to us. We weren't conscious of it. We didn't realize that everything we were experiencing, we were actually creating. And it's taken a while to really put our arms around that.
Yeah.
But going back to my communions over the last 3 or 4 nights, the highest point that I reached, and I think it was both the lowest and the highest. I mean, 'cause I'm literally walking out there and I'm feeling like my heart is just gonna explode. You know, I'm going, why is this collective? I was going through that whole thing. Is this collective? Well, it's both, you know, so you got to do your part. I just felt sick. I felt like I wanted to throw up. So I walk out to the beach. It's a little bit later, so it's almost dark, and I my foot hits something. And I look down and somebody, because in this part of the beach, you have to just sit on the sand, basically, which, which I'd rather sit on something if I can, you know.
Yeah.
Well, there was these two bricks that somebody had put down to sit on, right? And so I sat there, and the way that the bay speaks to me, or one of the ways, is through the lights. There's not a lot of lights. Sometimes there's no lights. But I understood a long time ago, about a year ago, when I was in a different part of Mexico, when I was working with the mother in the water in another bay, that this was code. So what was happening was, for 3 nights, I look up and I see a triangle, and it's Vega and two other stars, and I'm not sure what they are. But and so I knew that that was important. So I look out into the ocean, and I see a light that's not normally there on my left, and I see a light on my right that's not normally there, and that's all that's out there. And I start to go into my communion and working things out and giving my thanks and asking for guidance and seeking and accepting and reaffirming I am soul, and giving life its grace and blessings and props. And I have my eyes closed, and I'm thinking to myself, if I see a light directly in front of me, because I'm a triangle, just like the one I'm looking at, I'm one point, and those two lights are the other. If I see or something like, wouldn't that be crazy if I see a light right in front of me to confirm this whole communion? I open my eyes, and there's a light.
Oh,
And I just started laughing, and all the heaviness just left, you know. And I was like, wow. So this is the world that they called imagination, that that we had as children, that was put down and suppressed. Okay,
yeah.
this is why art is so important, I think. But the imagination, I mean, if thoughts are things, then
Right.
that means imaginary imagination is the root.
Your
It's the,
imagination.
right.
It's funny. The very first video I ever made on my YouTube was this command of space. And I was just talking about how it helps when you're commanding space or praying or whatever. If you're calling light into a space, it helps you if you imagine light pouring into the space as you're calling light in, right? And so I was laughing about how many things, like there's a song, it's just my imagination, right? And anything that they've put a just in front of like that, we know has power in it. And your imagination is the most powerful tool of transformation you have. It is so magical. It's a superpower. And I meet a lot of folks that have it shut down. You know, you ask somebody to, dream. What is your most magical future? The most magical future you could dream, what would that look like? And they can't allow themselves to dream beyond what their ego is telling them is possible. And as soon as you do that, you've missed it because um, because we're limitless beings.
Exactly.
My lights just flickered.
See?
Yeah, we're limitless beings. And so, what kind of things do we limit ourselves with? Projections. That's why calling back, I call back anything I've projected on others. I call it back now. Anything that others have projected upon me, Spirit, I ask that you send it back to them now. Clean my side of the street, clean theirs. Beliefs,
Yeah.
Spirit, any false beliefs that I'm holding around this topic, right? I'm asking
Right.
you to show me and to clear them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Perceptions, judgments, right? So any false perceptions I'm holding, any false judgments, or any judgments, period, right?
yeah.
Because that's one of the things that we're not to do. We're not to judge others.
Well, I
And
mean, it doesn't fit in it's part of the the infrastructure of the realm. I mean, judgment's not even real.
right,
And but it does take that conscious effort. That's what I was getting at the beginning when you were talking about that process with the three possibilities.
right,
You know, it, because because the echoes are still there, and it's like second nature. It's like riding a bike. It's fascinated me over the years to talk to healers and practitioners, and you spot this and you're fixed. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this switch and now I'm good.
yeah,
No, I'm watching it. I'm experiencing it. Somebody says something to me and I go into an old pattern. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's not them. Well, I wouldn't have done that if they didn't do that. But let's face it, it's not about who hit who first.
yeah.
It's about who hit who last.
Well, and
So,
whoever hit you is in service to you. You've asked
mm,
them, hit me
mm,
on this date
yeah, true,
so that
true.
I know that I have this in my field. That's the thing, is like the faster you can get to seeing any situation as love,
Yeah,
right? Because everything that is transpiring in the world everywhere is love. Like
yeah,
if you get back down to the bottom of it, right? Because we are experiencing what is necessary to experience in order for us to accomplish what we've come to do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is big stuff, big stuff. It really is. I mean, the level, and I haven't even got my arms around it yet.
Yeah.
I didn't do a show, I think, for 3 days, but it was by design. I didn't design it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I normally set up appointments on the weekend, and I was on my ass. I'm going through all this stuff, and it wasn't horrible. It wasn't heavy. It was a long. It was a 3 day period, maybe a 4 day period. It had to happen, but I realized that that's like I said, with the conversation I had walking down the road, I said to myself, what the hell is this? Because it doesn't normally impact me that way. Like I'll know, I'll connect it to something. I'm like, this has to be collective. And I just heard it's both. So do your part. That's it. Take everybody else out of it, do your part. And, uh, and then, the crazy thing is these, these little deaths, you can't have an expansion without a little death. You can't birth without the death. It just doesn't happen. So every time that happens to me, I kind of split, and then boom, the energy comes out. And to your point, and to some of your stories and anecdotes, the reciprocation is immediate now. It
Yeah.
is instant. It is instant manifestation, but it's just not like we used to think. We think, oh, I want a red Corvette. Boom. No, that's not how it works. The way it works is you go through that split. It happens simultaneously, and then you pop out the other side, and immediately you're meeting these people, or you're having these other experiences, and they're becoming more frequent. They're beginning to sustain the field itself because it's expanding. It's expansive energy. It's not like the stagnation of the energy of the old paradigm. So it's a very different type of experience.
It's
Yeah,
interesting. What Spirit is showing me right now is that the destruction, because, the last 5 years have been very destructive to a lot of things, right? Destroying paradigms, things that people have, believed, whatever. And and it's like these 5 years of destruction, thinking about us being in the 11th hour of this 9 year period or whatever. It's the destruction that's provided the materials that we build what's next with, right?
that's
And
it.
so
And
yeah,
that's it. That's it right there. That's what I'm saying. And I think what's happening to what you were saying earlier about and it's much easier, obviously, to say it than to experience it because we have to experience it. But really, if you look at the shit, if you look at those things that we did out of love, that projections that we had out of unbalanced emotions and things like that, it was still rooted in love, you know?
yeah,
You know what I mean? So, and so when you start to see that everything is actually ordered by you,
yeah,
you're in the restaurant, you ordered this on your menu, you start to see your playmates not as antagonists, but as actually family, as kindreds,
being
right?
in
Right.
service to you,
Yeah.
really.
So, I mean, and so that pattern hasn't changed. This destruction creation thing hasn't changed. It's just the way the math works, but it's different when you go through it and all you can feel is the pain and all you can focus is on the pain, which is why you haven't seen the two little pigs walking across the road or the German Shepherd, you know, because now you're starting to look at the other side or go back and find your attributes from past incarnations and pick them up. Like I'm going to go back tonight. I'm going to say, I know I was a singer somewhere. I'm
Yes.
going to go find this stuff and bring it back up here, right?
So
So,
this is what I did. I had this song called The Golden Road that came through in October. And I mean, I sang it for my friend who's she's a musician. She and her husband play Celtic music. They're actually bards, they've been doing it for a long time. They ran all the Fairy World events. So I sang that for her, and she cried and she's like, "We're going to record this together." That was amazing. And what I did is I had this little bit of a song come through, and I did that exact thing. I said, "Spirit, I know I've been a songwriter. I wouldn't have these things come through as easily if not. So I'm asking for my best songwriter self to come through and help me finish this song." And then it was boom, and it was done,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
My most
I think,
intuitive self, my most clairvoyant self, my most whatever self, call them in.
yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
the conscious, um, being conscious of what we're doing, and and actually giving it its due. And then I think it was in the first show. I think it was you that talked about the verbalizing it.
Yeah.
Verbalizing these things is so important. I'm finding it more and more and more. And I know I'm at the beach, and sometimes people look at me kind of funny because I'm talking to myself, or even when I'm walking down the street. I used to put my headphones in my ears to so people would think I was talking to somebody. But then I thought, well, that's not being transparent. So I'm just going to talk to myself. But yeah, this is it almost, because of the conditioning and the programming and the unconventional conventional wisdom of the old paradigm, things like this, talking to yourself, the things that we're talking about, the verbalization, the self-talk, the programming, they will all be frowned upon.
Yeah.
They would all be dismissed and suppressed. But it's over now. And this is one thing that I've come to recently in the last few weeks, probably since well, about a month maybe, slowly but surely. And that is that, hey, you know what? I am a soul. I know I'm not going to die, and I've known this since I reawoke. I've known it all my life, really. We all have, really. But I've got this new resolve. I've got this new resolve. Okay, I was supposed to be back in the States already. My soul said, no, you sit right here. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You
Yeah.
know, I could be here with nothing, and I'm okay with it because I am not going to be confined or limited to this incarnation as much as I hold it in reverence and realize that if I can hold it together, hand in hand with my soul walk, so to speak, then I'll be a powerhouse. I might end up living in a hut on top of a mountain by myself with no internet and a stream of fresh fish going by every day, in a personal garden that I
That
eat out
sounds
of.
wonderful. I
I
mean,
know,
it's
you
not
know.
everybody's dream. I say that all the time. I mean, not everybody would want to live where I live. Um, folks would probably want to visit, but not everyone would want to live out this far. But um, I have realized, I told my girlfriend the other day, I asked her first about her dreams, and she was limiting her dreams, and I was kind of giving her a hard time about it. But I'm like, stop it. And she's like, well, reasonably, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, 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 no reasoning. No reasoning to your dreaming. You're dreaming. At least when you dream, take the limits off. Like,
Yeah,
what is the best thing you could see, right?
yeah.
And man, I think I just lost my track. So
So it's the birds are going crazy.
the birds are going.
And that's legit. That's part of it right there.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've done shows, and dogs or cats would, I don't know why my dog's acting this way, and wants to come up on the screen and stuff. Hey,
Yeah.
I want to ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
I can't believe this 2 hours. We do 2 hours. It feels
Yeah.
like 20. Yeah, it feels like 20 minutes. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I got another show. I have to take a break. But so if anyone wants to see what I'm talking about, just go back to the last episodes, probably 10 or 12, 15 back. I don't know, where she has the camera pointed out the. It's picturesque. It's literally like just. It's like a national park. It is basically.
It's like a botanical garden, really
Yeah.
backed into a forest.
And then of course the guy that built it and all that. Anyone wants to hear that first episode, you should go listen to it. It's pretty incredible. It is about manifestation and some of the things that we talked about, the connectivity between lives and having the playmates over and over, and the little things that we do
Calling
for
in
each other.
favors, right?
But on that property, when I watched a couple of your videos, the one with the deer
Yeah.
and another one, I think you were walking. And I tapped into that area just because I love nature and I just was compelled to do it. And I felt like a really, really strong elemental, like I could almost see the elvins, the fairies, even like some dragon energy, you know, the The
Sasquatch.
elders, yeah, elders. That was the first thing I saw, right? And then of course the animal kingdom. I would imagine that if you're seeing the two pigs and the German Shepherd, you're going to be seeing, if you haven't already, the elemental kingdom.
I see so many things here, Todd.
Mm.
Yeah. I've met fairies. I've met fairies in the physical.
Yeah.
And I was just telling someone about that yesterday. It's a long story. I don't want to go too far, but I've actually been on a hike that has 11 waterfalls.
Mm.
And I went with crystals with me, and it was interesting. I went with this friend that I'd never gone anywhere with. It was a new friend, and I showed up with a little bag of crystals, and so did she.
Mm.
And we walked along the whole waterfalls, dropping crystals, and I would tell the fairies, and I would tell the beings in the earth because I've seen inner earth. And I would say, I would love to meet you if if we're safe, and I would love to meet you if you'd be willing to meet us, right? Now I'm just going to tell the story. So we go up, we walk up to these waterfalls, and we get to the top of the falls, and nobody's on the trail this day. And it's 11 of the most beautiful waterfalls you've ever seen. It's like 20 minutes from my house. And we get to the top, and there's nobody there, so we climb over the barrier, and we sit where the waterfall is like actually like, we're feeling the mist of it. And I start calling in. At that time, I would call these 11 Elohim. I would call them in, and you would feel the power of these beings around you. So I did this. We're over the fence, and I did it, and I did it with the intention of blessing the land where we were. And I finish, and a raven flies right over me, flies right over me. We'd walk down the trail. As we get to the bottom of the trail, there's a couple and three kids with two dogs. And the couple are shorter, and the kids all are kind of shorter than normal, right? And they have this beautiful, like golden skin, like golden brown skin, and the brightest turquoise eyes you've ever seen. And so we walk up to them, and the kids are like touching my bracelets like they've never seen them, like, oh, I love these, and touching my arm and touching my bracelets. I wished so hard after the fact that I would have given them to them. But they're touching my bracelets, and this little boy shows me his sleeve, and he goes, look, it's dinosaurs. And it was camouflage. It wasn't dinosaurs. What human kid doesn't know what dinosaurs are, right? But he's like, look, it's dinosaurs. And I said, oh, that's amazing.
No, there's no question.
The parents aren't saying anything. They're just sitting there smiling. The dogs are just sitting there. It felt like they were smiling at us, right? So we stood there talking to these people for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or more. And then we parted ways, and they walked up the only way it's in and out. You can only go one way, in and out. They walk up the path, and I take about 10 steps away, and then I grab my girlfriend and I said, oh my God. And she said, what? And I go, those are the fairies. And we turn around, we go up the trail, there's nobody there. We walk all the way down back it's a 2 mile, like in and out, walk all the way back, there's nobody in the parking lot.
It's a family of gnomes.
Yeah, or a family of elves. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have seen them.
Yeah. I,
I think it's just a matter of making yourself open, like
yeah.
making your environment aware that you're open. That's why I wave at
Yeah.
trees,
Well,
right?
I mean, that's very true. It's an interactive kind of thing. That's how it works. I mean, if you go into a video back in the day, you go into a game room, you go into a video game, and you have an avatar. You don't just turn the game on, and you got to put your hand on the joystick and you got to move it. You know what I mean? But yeah, and I'm sure that we've had more encounters than we know, and
Oh, totally.
I know a few I've had, and I know these people they weren't people by our standards. They weren't. No, there's too much evidence otherwise. But again, these are the things that I'm convinced that happen to a vast multitude of people,
They don't
and
recognize.
they've nowhere to talk about it.
Oh, that
They've
too. Yeah.
nowhere to share it. So I really feel like that this is a part of the movement. This is a part of the evolution, regardless of number of views, regardless of,
Yeah.
likes or, subscribe. It doesn't matter. These are energetic, seeds that we have been planting for a long time, not just in this life, but they're all coming to a head now. It's a new language. It's a new level of communication. It's the real contagion, the real
Yeah.
virus on this planet, and it's pretty cool. It's just totally different from where we've been, and those belief systems and all those things. Yeah, it's become an all or nothing proposition. And I think more than anything, that's what this completion is. The
Yeah.
completion is of the year is it's all or nothing now.
Yeah.
If you're
Well,
going
people
to
aren't going to have a choice much longer.
exactly.
I feel like there are a lot of us that are moving through this right now with a little more ease because of the choice we've made.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people haven't chosen yet.
Well,
Like they
yeah,
haven't recognized that there's a choice. And man, it's like I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it because it's what's coming through. It's like people that haven't willingly made the choice are going to be forced to a choice point soon. That's what
yeah,
it feels like to me.
yeah, yeah. It is. And the pressure's getting turned on. No, there's
Yeah.
no doubt. Well, best to you and your husband. If I don't talk to you before the holidays, I'll reach out to you soon and set up another date or set up a schedule or something. We can talk about it. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing everything with us and honoring us with your presence. And I enjoy the collaborations and I look forward to more.
Thank you. I love having conversations with you, and thank you to everybody who has taken the time to sit with us
Hmm.
now or
Yeah,
in the future. Thanks for listening.
2 hour and 11 minutes. All right. Take care. I'll see you. I'll see you next.